2023 is almost over, but that means we can look ahead to 2024. On this edition of Seahawks Today, we are looking at the Seahawks free agency plan for this upcoming offseason of players they should re-sign, not re-sign, and also some potential free agent targets here on the show. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Before we get to any of that, quick challenge for the 12s today. Chase Sr. of Eagles Now has a little something for us. He said to me, Tyler, we had a guy that commented over 200 times on an Eagles video, got over 1,000 comments in that video. No way that could happen on Seahawks Today. And I said, yeah, right. We're going to prove you wrong right now. So let's stick it to Eagles Now ahead of that Monday night game when we go beat them on Monday. Let's see who can get the most comments on today's show. I'm going to shout you out. Let's get to 1,000 comments. Make it happen. Prove Chase wrong. Let's start with the players the Seahawks should re-sign. 5 guys in particular that come to mind for me. Leonard Williams, Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, Noah Fant, and Damian Lewis. Now, when it comes to Williams and Brooks, those are the guys that I would expect to give long-term deals, 3 or more years for those guys. When it comes to Bobby Wagner and a couple of those others there, I would expect shorter deals. Bring them back, but not for a long-term thing with the age factor and all that. When it comes to players that would not re-sign, this is when it gets a little lengthy here. Hear me out on this, folks. Drew Lock, Devin Bush, Evan Brown, Darrell Taylor, Mario Edwards, gone. Colby Parkinson, DJ Dallas, Mike Jackson, Miles Adams, Josh O, all those guys gone. And then 5 more players as well. Phil Haynes, Jason Peters, Frank Clark, John Radigan, Artie Burns. I don't think any of these should be that big of a surprise. And maybe there's a world where you can't find a better option that you might bring somebody back. But at least those are 15 guys I can live without. Big picture here for the Seahawks. With those 15 guys we talked about, this is a great opportunity for the Seahawks to unload on getting rid of a lot of this average to below average talent that are highly overpaid. I'm not even talking about players that you cut or trade. That'll be another video another time. But just moving on from those 15 guys will be a relief in itself. Now I want to hear from you guys. Our pinned comment today. Who's the player the Seahawks should re-sign? Of all those free agents we listed there, who's somebody that you'd like to see back in a Seahawks uniform in 2023? Let us know what you think in the comment section below on our pinned comment today. Now, the cap situation for the Seahawks, where things stand right now, and things will change, is around $3.08 million for Seattle. Granted, that's not a ton of money to spend, but I expect that to change when you talk about players that you'll cut and restructure and all that. So we'll see that number take a significant step up. Remember, you have to sign your draft picks and all that. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some potential free agent targets for Seattle. We begin at the offensive guard spot with Robert Hunt from the Miami Dolphins. The Seahawks have been going with Anthony Bradford for much of the last couple of weeks, but I still think they're looking for some reinforcements there on that offensive guard spot. Robert Hunt could potentially provide that for Seattle. The tight end position. Now, I told you I like the idea of re-signing Noah Fant, but I would like to see the tight end more involved in this offense. Maybe a guy like Dalton Schultz could come to mind, especially if you can't get Noah Fant back for whatever reason. Dalton Schultz could be a potential good fit, whether it's 2 tight end sets or if he replaces Noah Fant, whatever it may be. He would be a name to keep in mind as far as tight end options on the market. Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle from the Miami Dolphins, is on this list, and he might be the most intriguing name of anybody that we talk about today. He's still very young, only 27 years old, Christian Wilkins is, the former first-round pick out of Clemson, and a guy that's been dependable, very reliable, has started every game since 2021, and I think that Wilkins is just starting to reach his ceiling of sorts. He hasn't entered his prime just yet. So far, his numbers across the board, according to PFF, very solid. 74.5 defensive grade, 70.5 run defense grade. we've talked about a lot in this program, trying to find that run defense help. Christian Wilkins does that as well. 72 pass rush grade, 64.2 coverage grade. So you're talking about an interior defensive lineman that does it all, does a little bit of everything. Statistically, he is having the best season of his career right now. 7.5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 51 tackles. He is doing all that in a bag of chips right now for that Miami Dolphins team. Another offensive guard option is Jonah Jackson from the Detroit Lions, potentially speaking. And then we go back to the defensive tackle spot. If not Christian Wilkins, another name that's going to be talked about, he won't be cheap by any means, is Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, will the Chiefs bring back Chris Jones? I don't think so. I don't think the Chiefs have the money to with what they're having to pay Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and some of those other guys. But you look at Chris Jones, and Chris Jones has been phenomenal. Even with the holdout and all that, Chris Jones still this year has played with just a force to be reckoned with. An overall grade near 80, a run defense grade of 63.7, pass rush grade of 84.4, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion. It's hard to imagine the Chiefs winning those Super Bowls they did without Chris Jones. He's that type of impact player. I think he's a future Hall of Famer, quite frankly. This year, he's got 7.5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Last year, 15.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. And when I see that type of impact, that translates. If Chris Jones can do that in Kansas City, he can do that in Seattle too, as far as I'm concerned. Which guy would you rather have if you had to pick between these two? You're not going to get both of them. If you had to pick one or the other, which guy would you rather have? Christian Wilkins or Chris Jones? Chime in, let us know. W for Christian Wilkins, J for Chris Jones, and let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Factor. This busting holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all your holiday to-dos. Cross meal prepping off of your list this holiday season with Factor. Skip the meal planning, grocery shopping, chopping, prepping, and cleaning up, and get Factor's fresh, never frozen meals delivered to your door. They're ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy. Treat yourself to high-quality, delicious meals over the holidays. Factor isn't just for dinner. Count on extra convenience any time of day with an assortment of 55-plus add-ons that suit various preferences and tastes. Choose from quick breakfast items, lunch to go, grab-and-go snacks, and ready-to-drink cold-pressed juices, shakes, and smoothies. Head to factormeals.com/SeahawksChat50 and use code SeahawksChat50 to get 50% off. That's code SeahawksChat50 at factormeals.com/SeahawksChat50 to get 50% off. I got to tell you, I really love Factor meals myself. Certainly enjoyed them. You'll enjoy them too. Proud partner of Seahawks Today, Factor Meals. Let's talk defense now. Brian Burns, another one that would not be cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but you are looking at a guy that is one of the very best at his position. A former first-round pick coming off 2 straight Pro Bowl appearances and does about everything well. I think if you're the Seahawks, we've seen where the pass rush struggles at times, run defense struggles at times. If you're going to spend a lot of money, you want somebody that can do both. Brian Burns is just that, a complete football player, great in coverage, great in pass rush. Overall, his defensive grade, 77. Brian Burns has been fantastic. And this year, I know that the Panthers have been a mess, but even with that said, he still managed to have 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, coming off a year previously where he had 12.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss. And you go to the Seattle defense with some of the players that are already there, he's not going to be focused in nearly as much like he is at Carolina where he's a one-man band. So something to think about. I would think his numbers would come up in Seattle. Another edge rusher that comes to mind, Danielle Hunter from the Minnesota Vikings. And much like Brian Burns, will not be cheap. But I got to tell you, Danielle Hunter has been going off so far in 2023. Former third-round pick out of LSU, 3-time Pro Bowler, including last year, and he very well might be the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year this year. The thing with Danielle Hunter, though, run defense, not his thing. Grade is around a 50 there, but you can see pass rush is phenomenal, coverage grades there, defensive grades fantastic here. Danielle Hunter has been awesome. And here's what I mean as far as the impact goes. This is a guy that back in 2020 did not play with a neck injury. What did he do since he came back? 6 sacks in 2021 in 7 games played. 10.5 sacks in 2022. And this year, already passing that total with 13.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles. How many times have we watched the Seahawks in 2023 and just said to ourselves, this team doesn't have that dominant pass rusher? They thought they were getting that in Draymond Jones, and that just didn't happen. What do you guys think? Who's the player the Seahawks should sign? I've given you a few names. Chris Jones, Neil Hunter, Brian Burns, somebody else out there. Let me know. Chime in the comment section. Give me a name that you'd like to see in Seattle. Folks, we're talking about your Seattle Seahawks each and every day with daily news and rumors. We do our live shows on Wednesday afternoons. Watch party coming up on Monday for Monday Night Football. If you are a diehard Seahawks fan, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now. Best part about it, doesn't cost you a thing. Absolutely 100% free. Join the family. Be with us each and every day here at Seahawks Today. You'll be glad you did. A couple more for you here. The Seahawks questions remain about the future Jamal Adams as well as Quandre Diggs, so what you'll do with both those guys. So a couple safeties to keep in mind. Winfield from the Bucs, still playing some very good football. Geno Stone, I think, is probably out in Baltimore. I know he's second in the league in interceptions with 6 right now, but he and Kyle Hamilton have not played well together. Somebody's got to go. I would think Geno Stone's that guy. Send him to Seattle, get him away from Kyle Hamilton. You might see that version of Geno Stone we saw earlier in the year. And then also got to think about backup offensive tackles. I know that you're loaded with Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas as your starting offensive tackles for the next few years. But we saw this year that when those guys went down, it was full-on panic mode. You didn't have a very good alternative when those guys were out. Take example, a guy like Josh Jones who can be a good rotational backup offensive tackle that can fill that gap if something were to happen to those guys again. We'll see if the Seahawks go that direction. There you have it. That is our free agency breakdown for your Seattle Seahawks. Did you make it to the end of today's video? If you did, we salute you. Spam Real One in the comments section if you're one of those that made it to the end of today's show, and we'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.